On February 15th, 2022, I received a call that disrupted my workday, urging me back to the rehabilitation center where my mom was recovering post-surgery. Barely 2 hours had passed since my last visit, so a sense of dread filled the air as I drove back. As I approached the entrance, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my daughter were all standing outside waiting for me. And the expression on their faces confirmed my worst fear, that my mom had passed away. Immediately, being the oldest, I knew I had to be strong. We just lost the matriarch of our family. I knew that I had to represent my mother well, and that her homegoing service had to represent the life that she lived. You see, my mom was good to her family, she was good to her children, and she was great to her grandchildren. So as we were planning the service, my family and I decided we wanted to honor her work and we wanted to honor her legacy. I made sure I did everything I could so she would be proud. New hair, new makeup, new jewelry, new suit, new clothing. We even had a customized nameplate made for her casket. Initially, there was no expense spared because the arrangements had already been made. We knew how we were going to pay for the funeral and service. And just 2 days prior to the funeral, those plans fell through, thrusting my brother and I into an unexpected dilemma on how we were going to honor my mother's legacy and put her to rest. The funeral home inquired about life insurance. Fortunately, she had coverage. The life insurance company then guided us through a process and informed us that we had to have the funeral home send them an assignment. Once the funeral home sent the assignment, the service was paid in full. My brother and I had a moment of relief, no additional heartache, no additional worrying, no additional anxiety. We were able to give my mother her just due. I suddenly realized and gained a profound insight about life and how we live. I thought about that assignment, and I thought about if you fulfill your assignment the same way my mother did, like the life insurance told us, you'll be fully compensated. I thought about how each of us in life have an assignment and a purpose. And the only thing we need to do is to fulfill that assignment. And if we fulfill our assignment, God handles the rest. He provides the provision for anything and everything that we need. So the service was beautiful, and now the service was over. The calls became less, the text messages became less, the visits became less. However, I distracted myself from my painful reality by doing anything and everything that I could. You see, I became a woman on the move, or so I thought. Before I knew it, it was the first anniversary of my mom's passing. And this woman on the move started running slowly but surely out of steam. You see, I realized I could no longer run from the grief that I thought I was dealing with quite well. I was present but distant. I was here, but I wasn't here. I was alive, but I wasn't living. It was in that very moment that I decided it was time to be still and deal with the grief. My denial stage of grief lasted almost a year. I suddenly found myself looping in and out of anger and sadness, anger and sadness, and then I would wake up for weeks at a time just angry. I get on social media and I'm angry because people are posting pictures with their moms, and I'm saying to myself, how dare they? I'm angry and frustrated. I'm angry at people that I thought weren't kind to my mom. I'm angry because how could the world continue to go on and my mom was no longer here? I disengaged. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't answer emails, text messages, or phone calls. I decided there was nothing left for me to do because my mother was gone. And then one day, I found myself back in that loop of anger and sadness. However, this time it was a little different. Through that anger, through that sadness, through those tears, unexpectedly, I began laughing uncontrollably. You see, I started to remember all of the great memories and wonderful memories of my mom. I remembered how good she was to her children, how good she was to her community. I remember how great she was to her grandchildren, how she had a personal story about each and every one of their births, and how she was even in the room when they were born. I thought about all of the great things that my mom instilled in me, all of the valuable lessons. And I heard her looking down on me saying, calling me her favorite nickname, saying, girl, you better get yourself together and live your life. At that very moment, I decided to move forward with joy, knowing that I had such an amazing mother and we had such an amazing relationship. You see, as we go through life's transitions, and we will, things will be different. And what I learned is that different is okay. Nancy Schlossberg talks about transitions and the transition theory. You see, transitions and events in life aren't the things that impact us the most. It's how we cope with those transitions and events. I decided to cope by moving forward. I hope you decide to cope by moving forward when those inevitable life's transitions come. I hope you decide to fulfill your assignment. Thank you.